So you were talking about this aspect that European teams and global teams are starting to look at India as almost a market to invest in, to look at in that sense. Why do you think that is? Like, is it simply because of the eyeballs, or is what else is there?
I mean, eyeballs is definitely one. I think that can't be denied. The value that 1.3 billion people and tapping into that whole audience can bring in. Football also, you have to look at the sport that this is happening in, right? It's not happened in any other sport, but of course, with the football developing at such a rapid pace in India, but also being such a global sport that's cherished across continents, especially in India. I mean, the massive following that each of the top teams in Europe, in these European leagues hold in India is massive. And I think that's where, from a fan engagement standpoint, a lot of these leagues are seeing that value. So it's also almost creating a marketing funnel where you have
Hmm.
to first build that awareness, further tap into that awareness. So you have to segment your audience into, these crazy fanatics and also people who still need to become aware of your team. And I think tying in with somebody local in your state that you already have a resonance with, in a Hyderabad or in a Mumbai, can create that local and a customizable flavor. And then you can kind of still funnel those fans into becoming loyal customers for your brand, not only in India, but abroad, because today you've got global fans with the advent of social media. You don't have fans in just your own city in Barcelona. You have global fans,
Yeah.
and it's about reaching to these global fans through their local fans.
I think you've touched upon this in a previous conversation with someone, forgetting whom, but I think that particular guest talked about this point that it's really important to understand that yes, there is this great population that's there, but not everyone is keen on paying, let's say. So this concept of, I think, pay-per-view was introduced in India with, let's say, some MMA games and some wrestling matches, but then the idea totally flopped because none of the Indians were willing to pay, let's say, a certain amount of money for just watching a particular game for a couple of hours, or what have you, in that sense. And I think I can draw examples to back in the day as well, when the successful Manchester United sides were there under Sir Alex Ferguson. I think they won the treble, and they expected to sell like a lot of shirts in India, but they barely sold like 40,000 across the whole population of India, which is ludicrous in that sense. So is that something that the investors have to probably understand, that when they are dealing with an Indian market, they may have to take an approach like Decathlon have taken. They may have to like retune the way they're looking at things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from an engagement standpoint, firstly, they're obviously not looking at short-term gains. They're obviously looking at kind of honing in on fans, creating a long-term pipeline, eventually building a brand. So they're more so looking at a more marketing branding angle, which eventually contributes to their P&L. But apart from that, I think definitely if they can produce locally, and they can utilize the systems within India, to really build a flavor. I mean, the NBA does this supremely well, where if you notice, every year they have sort of a different edition where they travel around the world, but also host pre-game season to host pre-game or in-game in-season matches. But also, for example, what the NBA has been able to do in China, right? So now China can kind of like host more customizable events with the NBA, which essentially promote the brand, which is basketball. But today, basketball is associated with the NBA. So they're able to produce, and even the jerseys that are I think worn every year on the Chinese New Year, which falls on either one of the matches that are played in the league. So those kind of elements, of course, and that's a long shot right now, because, like I said, it's about really developing those fans, making them loyal customers of your brand, whichever wherever your brand is placed across the world, and then eventually leading to profits out of India. I think profits out of India is a very long term investment. It's not a short term investment. Requires a lot of patience.